Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming the star of David Cronenberg's 1981 classic Scanners, Stephen Lack. I will be having him on the show today. He was also in David Cronenberg's Dead Ringers and Larry Cohen's Perfect Strangers. And going to talk to him about making the movies that he made and his art gallery. He's an artist as well as an actor. He has a gallery, I believe, one in Canada and one in New York, but he'll confirm the accuracy of that. And I can't wait to have him on today. It's been a while coming, and the fifth and final week of Halloween October on Splat from the Past begins a day early, and today is Sunday. So, here is my interview with Stephen Lack. Hey, Stephen.
How you doing, Tommy?
I'm great. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. What's
Wonderful.
going on?
Wonderful. Oh, not much. Just waking up.
Yeah, I'm eating breakfast, so there we go. It's not such a big lag, is it?
No. It's such an honor. Thank you for taking the time this morning.
Oh, that's all right. I mean, I don't have much time left in the world, but what the fuck?
Yeah. What the fuck? So, going back in time, did you gravitate toward acting?
Wait. I just want to make sure. We're recording right now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So there's going to be the sound of me chewing a little bit. Is that okay?
That's okay.
Okay.
So going back in time, did you gravitate toward acting in film early on?
Oh. Did you ever see the movie Performance with Mick Jagger?
Oh, yes.
Well, like they say in that movie, I'm a bit of a performer. So I think I've been performing since I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
But, I have two sides of my fabulous bipolarity, and one is extremely private when I do the artwork, and the other is public when I let people in with a camera or in this with a telephone.
Mm-hmm.
So, and one interrupts the other. I mean, the private feeds, of course, the public, but the public detracts from the private. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does make total sense. So when you were growing up, did you do plays in school and community theater and all that?
I did plays at camp, and they were campy plays. Boys camps will do that. And, I didn't really have any formal training as an actor, although I knew Sylvia Miles in New York, and she told me that we ran scenes together at the actor studio, which, if that tells you anything about myself, I don't remember.
You remember. I was reading...
That generation.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I was reading that you went to McGill University and got a degree in psychology, and then you got a degree in sculpting in Mexico. So how?
Right.
So were you trying to become a psychologist at first?
Well, I thought psychology would be a legitimate trade where I could explore extreme interests, but at the same time, I had been sculpting in my parents' basement and things like that since I was a kid. And I took it, after I graduated college, I was really young. I was 20, just had turned 20. And I had a BA with a major in psych. And I thought, this is too soon to choose a career. And besides, everybody in my family are lawyers, so they all thought I was going to go into law school.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I would take a year off, and while I was taking that year off, I would get a master's degree, because I had looked it up, and I saw that there was this program available in San Miguel de Allende at the University of Guanajuato. So what the hell? I spoke French. How hard could Spanish be? Let's go. So I did. You know?
Yeah.
Great moment. I mean, I've told other press people the story, but I went to my father. He was quite hip, certainly by today's standards.
Mm-hmm.
And because everybody is so polarized today, it's hard to swing your hip in both directions.
Yeah.
But he was very hip. And I told him I was going to go down there and practice art. And he said, well, son, if you become an artist, you'll never have this, he said, gesturing up to the middle-class environment we lived in. And I said, but Dad, your generation worked hard and fought the Second World War and lived through the Depression, all to give my generation what your generation didn't have. I said, and your generation had a certain linearity and causality, and I'm opting for the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
He looked at me and he said, you know, that almost makes sense. He gave me his support. So I was a lucky guy. Happy horseshoe.
Yeah, I mean, at least he didn't pressure you into becoming a lawyer.
Well, no. They were happy I wasn't a criminal, let alone a lawyer.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, the end of that continuum.
Mm-hmm. You're originally from Montreal?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yep.
I've met a lot of actors from Canada, and a lot of them are not, formally trained.
Well, Canada has an informal education system as well, where you can access people that are masters in their trades without having to get it legitimized by an institution. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, God, I was once tapped to do a sculpture for a radio station. They had about 9 ounces of gold they wanted to turn into a sculpture to honor people. And I came up with a design, and I wanted to know how to work with gold. And, I just made a couple of phone calls, and I was talking to this guy, Will Reed, who's a Native American master sculptor, terrific guy, passed away, I'm sure. And, he gave me tons of tips. Just got together with him and did the thing. People were accessible in those days, I got to meet Salvador Dali and all kinds of famous people in the lexicon of our cultures.
Right.
So, I don't know if it's like that now. I find it's hard to even meet your neighbor.
Oh, yeah.
The dog treat for their Doberman.
Oh, yeah. I so agree with you. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit easier to meet people in terms of, contacting them through the internet and stuff like that, but it's a hard to get a lot of people's attention these days.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, so you knew Salvador Dali. I mean, I heard he was very strange. Was he?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess he was strange. I was with this woman. I was about 23 and she was 35, so she was definitely an older woman. But today, by my standards, I think 35 would be quite juicy. But that said, not that I'm an ageist or a sexist. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Don't nail me to that cross. Because I am all of those things. But, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, she had a 3-year-old daughter, and the daughter masturbated, and Dali was interested in doing a phrenological feel of her skull to see if there were any significant bumps that would indicate her masturbatory predilections.
Oh, my God.
But he didn't bring that up when I met him.
Yeah. That is a strange man.
Oh, he's curious.
Yeah.
Curiosity always brings you to strange places, even if you're a cat.
Yeah. I just got a cat, too.
Did you?
Yeah.
What kind? What color?
It's a little calico white kitty, and somebody my mother knew was giving away kittens, so we got her.
Cool.
Yeah, first one we've had in a long while. So how?
My cat's just turned 14, I think.
Oh, 14. Oh, yours has been alive a while. Yeah, ours is still pretty new.
Yeah. Yep. Rules are own now.
Yeah. So how did movie making come into the equation for you?
How did it? Well, there was a thing called Portapacks happening in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
That was bringing film to the common man. So you could, but the Portapacks, I have an aversion to things technological.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I'm a bit like the Hulk, you know? Things that frustrate the Hulk make him mad, and the madder the Hulk gets, the stronger he gets, and the more he has a predilection to smash. So I stay away from machines and technology,
Mm-hmm.
but other people around me were so happy to be into it. And people that I went to McGill with that were in the science programs, and psychology was actually in the arts. Maybe it was in science too, but I didn't take the statistical aspects of it. I took mostly personality and literature and stuff. So that said, yeah, some of my college mates were advancing in videographing things, and it was becoming prevalent in the art scene as a method of documenting performances. You know, Canada's at the vanguard of performance art.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a pretty open downtown community in Montreal in the 70s. And my friend Frank Vitale had made a movie called Country and Western Music in Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
A brilliant movie. I keep on calling him and telling him, you've got to re-release it. You've got to goose it and digitalize it and bring it out again. It is the most depressing movie in the whole world. And it's a close-up view of people who were in love with the image of cowboys and became singers and entertainers under that paradigm in honky-tonk bars in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
Maritimes, and in Quebec, which was a whole genre of entertainment and an aesthetic. And he did real close-up studies of these people. And it was at that screening that I met his partner, Alan Moyle, and we became good friends. And he went on to produce, direct, Pump Up the Volume,
Mm-hmm.
Times Square, and Empire Records, and some other movies. But before that, we worked together on 2 movies. Frank Vitale, myself, and Alan worked on Montreal, Maine, which was a
Right.
very interesting. You could call it an underground film or an indie film,
Mm-hmm.
but it was about the youth culture in a way, but it was more like the adult culture imposing itself on the beauty of youth, and them returning the compliment by trying to become one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
so it was a really, it was way before kids and way gentler than kids, and a lot of heart and no sexuality in it. Well, a little bit, but nothing cross-generational.
Mm-hmm.
And it was terrific. Great movie, got terrific reviews, and I helped write it and conceive it, and ended up acting in it. And then my acting performance generated a terrific response in places of significance like the Village Voice, etc. Of course, time has erased the Village Voice from a contemporary position. Come up
Mm-hmm.
like a friggin' politician. Hold on, let me see who this other call is.
Okay.
It's my wife, dear. We interrupt edit this, don't you? Let me hold on. Let me just
Okay.
what's going on.
Okay.
Me.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Okay. Perfect.
Enough Nicholson quotes.
So from there, then you did the Rubber Gun.
That's right. See, you knew.
Yeah. What was the genesis behind that movie?
Well, you know, every art community doesn't exist by itself.
Right.
And in those days, you know, the whole culture had been slit open by circumstance, i.e. the fact that 50% of the planet was under the age of 26. And you know how young kids are. You've seen your gummos, et cetera, so a lot of slackers, a lot of stoners, and a lot of artists.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the artists had the most ambition, but the slackers and the stoners and some of the stoners had ambition, and they became dealers. How else are you going to get your intoxicants?
Mm-hmm.
So the relationship between the artists and the intoxicant suppliers was a subject for film, especially when the dealers were always on the verge of self-destruction. So it had some morality in it, and we had some people cooperating with us that led us into that and allowed us to manipulate them. And in some ways, it's one of the original reality TV shows, because it's not really reality. It's scripted and manipulated and all of that. But at the same time, it's incredibly intense and makes a lot of people uncomfortable. And so there was that product. And that got me the attention. I know your next question is how did you meet David Cronenberg? Well, he saw those movies, and he saw what I was doing in those movies, and he said, that guy is amazing, and blah, blah, blah. And, gee, I wonder what he would be like in my film. So we met, and he folded me into Scanners, which was conceived and executed in a bit of a rush in between other projects and at the end of a fiscal year so that it could fit into the economic structure of some kind of packaging plan that the producers had put together. And we banged it out.
Yeah, I was going to say, though, I watched a little bit of the Rubber Gun on YouTube the other day. And
how was it? How did it hold up?
It was definitely an underground film, but the grainy quality of it reminded me so much of those Driver Ed movies from the 70s.
Well, the quality of the film is much better than that. What you're looking at on the YouTube, a video of the thing from a television set when it played late at night in Canada.
Yeah.
So you're not looking at a direct transfer of the film to video. You're looking at a film of a TV projection of the film.
I see.
A broadcast, yeah. But that's all we'll let out, so fuck them.
Yeah. Before I get into Scanners, I was just curious, when you did the movie Head On, what was it like working with John Huston?
Oh, he was terrific. I love John Huston. I mean, he was a macho kind of guy, and I'm not such an amazing film buff that I could call at hand a litany of his past productions. All I knew was that he had directed Sierra Madre.
Right.
That was my thing, and, you know, Badge. I said, that's one of my favorite lines. Well, little did I know. It's everybody's favorite line. But we had other commonalities, because he lives in Mexico, and I lived in Mexico for a year and a half. So, you know, we bonded through that and the animal life in Mexico, because he does love animals.
Right.
And so we talked, and that was our main bond. We had Sally Kellerman in between us, who was always talking about film this and film that and la la and gasping and breathless. And that was cute, and he was always happy to look at protrusions in chemises, as he was wont to do, and as she was wont to flaunt.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. And then later on, I use this as an example. I was down in Mexico taking my first vacation, and maybe the only vacation I've ever taken. I went, after I did Scanners and Head On, I did them back to back, so it was like, 4 months of shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it was 10-hour turnarounds. And so I took a vacation all by myself, went down to Mexico, and checked out San Miguel, which was, 12 years since I had graduated, and then went down to Puerto Vallarta and gave him a call. And I didn't hear back. I was at at a motel called Casa Roye, which I think has expanded since those days.
Mm-hmm.
And the day I was leaving, I mean, I was only there for 4 or 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
The day I was leaving, the innkeeper came up to me, Senor Stephen, he's Senor John Huston on the phone. And it was John calling me back. And, he was not in great shape. He had the tank for the emphysema, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
But, it was an honor to be called back. He didn't say, oh, that's that crazy kid Canadian actor that I shot a quick 4-day scene with, in some opportunistic finance packaging thing to afford me to pay off a wife and do a movie as well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, it was great. Oh, Stephen, you're leaving now. Oh, that's too bad. Well, I wish we could have got together. I should have called sooner, but I was tied up with things. So it was great to hear John and have that call. And in the future, when I've had to deal with people that had attitude and they don't call back in an appropriate time period, I think to myself, John Huston called me back. Why can't these fuckers call back?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's an expansion on another rap. I had a friend, L.A. friend. Are you in L.A.? Yes, eh?
I'm in Redding, California.
What, Redding?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know where that is, but anyway, L.A. is its own thing, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a old hipster friend, and he was old by my standards. If I was 23, he was like 45, and he had been a post-war, World War II artist, writer, heroin abuser, etc., etc. The only movie credit he's got is that he wrote John Candy's last film, or at least something he wrote was turned into John Candy's last film, Wagons East.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't a great piece, but my buddy Jerry Abramson, he had been on the scene, and he was just, a terrific, almost a guru, certainly a source of information, and always correcting us younger hippies or hipsters, whatever, because he was truly a beat, and telling us, where the sources of our inspirations really came from. Like it's all jazz music, Steve. You might think it's rock and roll or even the blues, but it's jazz,
Mm-hmm.
And so, he told me the story one time. He said, I was talking away, as I'm doing now. You're only asking one question per 4 minutes of tape. And I was talking, and he turned to me and he said, Steve, he said, I sound just like the John Huston imitation. Steve, this is more like it. Here is how he went. Yeah, Steve. So I'm hanging out in a bar with Miles. And I'm talking just like you're talking, Steve. And he turns to me and he goes, Jerry, shut up. Now, Steve, Miles Davis told me to shut up. Now, I'm telling you, Steve, shut up. So it was like the papal touch.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, there we go. Is this anything of what you were hoping to get in the backstory of filmmaking. I mean, I don't know what your podcast is like. I've actually never listened to a podcast.
Oh, it's getting good so far. You tell great stories. I love people who can tell stories and stuff. But yeah, getting to the scanners though.
How many listeners do you have?
Oh, lots of listeners. I mean, not like a ton, but a lot, a great deal.
4 figures?
Not 4 figures, no. More like just 3 numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just asking.
It's
Not
okay.
disappointed.
Oh, it's okay. You can ask me anything. Now, I've read that there was a lot of frustration and tension on the set of Scanners between David and the producers. Is that correct?
Oh, not that I'm aware of. I stay away from that. Oh, I mean, they might have had their priorities, and David has his priorities, and I don't think people that wear big gold watches and chains around their necks with letters on them are necessarily going to be able to interpret the inner musings of somebody like David Cronenberg. So, of course, there's going to be some kind of tension. But David gave them a product, and they made lots of money on the product. So whatever tension they had, let's just call it pre-coital tension.
Mm-hmm. So it was just it was a very busy, hard-working set, you would say.
Oh, it was horrifying. It was freezing. And they had to get the principal shooting done by the end of December.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were shooting it on a brand new, as only Quebec. Quebec, you know, Quebec is great because it lives the dream.
Yeah.
You know? You can have 2 people sitting around and one will say, you know what would be a great idea? We turn the harbor into a Hollywood soundstage. And the other one says, hey, that's terrific. I know a guy in the government who could give us a grant to do that. Really? Okay, let's call him. And they call the guy, and the guy says, yeah, I got a little bit of money hanging around. What do you need? Oh, I need $500,000. Well, I can get you $20,000 tomorrow. Well, that's all we need for lights and a couple of booms. And all of a sudden, you got an empty friggin' theater or an empty warehouse on the docks of Montreal. It's on the same latitude as Moscow. And you're shooting a film in it. You know?
Yeah.
So that's where, if you, I don't know, I think digitally you can erase these things, but if you got an original print of Scanners, you'll see that there's some people's breath in some of the interiors. That's how cold it was.
Yeah. Do you consider the movie horror as much as it is science fiction?
I consider the movie to be science fiction. I understand that David has a lot of horror fans, and people. I love science fiction, and I'm a futurist. And the idea that somebody would alter the genetics of his children, alter their potentials and capacities, makes complete sense to me, especially as a father. God, I wish I could do it. And so it's, I see it as science fiction. No question about it.
Yeah, and I also...
And it's becoming a reality anyway, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
So, and it's about control. And David, the difference between a genius and a competent person is the genius can deal with things being out of control because their genius is often in corralling those elements back into the stable. And other people would just either quit or they don't let things get out of control. So David worked with a lot of elements that had loose ends, and he corralled them into a wonderful product, which, except for a few moments, still holds up today. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at a product like the X-Files, how many seasons were they on television? 9 seasons? 8 seasons?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone notice that the soundtrack and when I say the soundtrack, I mean the way sound is presented in that program is completely derived from the way sound is presented in Scanners. The soundtrack, the music.
Yeah.
Once again, the Howard Shore score, Scanners, is all through and used so many times. I mean, good God, it's the Thus Spake Zarathustra of science fiction and horror. So there was a lot of breakthrough things that happened on Scanners, you know? And to think that I was aware of it, you got to be kidding, you know? When I went to the rushes and I would see things and I'd say, well, that looks really kind of barren of detail. And they would go, oh, that's David's style. And I said, since when is it dentist's office style? You know, and they all looked at me like, well, you got a lot to learn. And guess what? I did. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I admire David's work and his perspective and the areas that he takes into consideration. I love the fact that he, if it's been done by somebody else, he won't bother to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and, I mean, he's not a poor man, but he could have made lots and lots and lots of money, you know, selling out, and he did. You know?
Yeah.
He's done terrific things.
He's done a lot of great things, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever read his book?
No.
Doomed?
I haven't read it, no.
Oh, well, you should read it. It's like one of his films. It's, you know, it's a nice follow-up to Philip K. Dick.
I should check it out then, yeah.
Yeah.
What was Jennifer O'Neill like to work with?
Oh, she was a sweetheart. I liked her. I didn't have any problems with her because I'd never been divorced.
Yeah, she doesn't show up until like 37 minutes into the movie. That kind of reminds me of one of the last Martin and Lewis movies where Dean Martin doesn't show up until about a half hour into the movie, and that was the beginning of their partnership dissolving.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize that she doesn't show up till then because she was, you know, when you shoot a movie, you have a different, even though you watch it, you never get over shooting it, and my first day of shooting was a scene with her. Or maybe my second day. And I was on pink pages and she was on blue pages. And so when she rescues me or I rescue her, I forget. And we look into each other's eyes and I go, Flavia, are you all right? And she looks up at me and she says, my name's been changed to Kim. So I didn't even have the right script that told me what her name was.
Patrick McGowan.
Oh, I love Patrick. Patrick was terrific. You know, I'm not a professional actor. And my method of acting, and I was under a lot of stress because I was doing this movie right after another movie, and I had been promised a week in between the two, and that was not the case. They had me in wardrobe the next day. After the wrap party of one film, I was in wardrobe the next day. Which, you know, if I was Brad Pitt and I was copping a couple of $1 million per, would have been fine, you know? Would have had my own pharmacist on the set, and I would have had my blood changed. I would have sent my old blood to Mexico. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was just a humble guy, still living in my artist loft, which I have the equivalent of today. And, you know, so I was kind of stressed and overtired and all of that. No one was giving me a break. I was the cheap Canadian meat in the product. And Jennifer and Patrick were the international elements. and the box draws. But Patrick, who didn't know my method, and my method is to familiarize myself enough with it and then imbue it with the me, and not necessarily stick exactly to the script, because frequently words and hitting the mark are stultifying, and I'd rather be a little more fluid. But in this case, David being a clinical perfectionist, he wanted me to hit my mark, and he wanted me to stick directly to the dialogue, which was okay to a degree. He kept the dialogue pretty simple, except for some big words. And, so I was rehearsing with McGowan, and we're running lines, and I wasn't putting much energy into it because you saved that till the last thing or whatever. And he looked at me quizzically and he said, "Where did you study? Where did you learn to act?" And I turned around to him and I said, "At the Oscar Levant School of Acting." That shut him up, and that was it. We were friends after that. Actually, he slipped into a bit of reverie and started to do he was finished with something, and he got up from the table and he said, "I shall arise and go now." And I said, "And go to Innisfree." And then I used to know the rest of the poem, and I quoted him the rest of the poem, and that got him a little bit of respect,
Mm-hmm.
that I knew that Macefield poem. And that was that, because
Yeah.
I am not an actor, and I know that acting is a really intense craft. There's a lot of craft to it, and at the same time, just like art and illustration, if you can't bring elements of yourself into it, then you're just being an illustrator. You're just, most soap opera actors or whatever. But I didn't want to risk being in over my head on any project where a lot of money was at risk. So I withdrew because I was a better painter than an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Contrary to some of the fucking art critics. May they roast.
Michael.
But that,
Yeah. Michael Ironside and Lawrence Dane, those guys are great actors.
They're what?
They're both great actors.
Yeah, Lawrence Dane is very good. Ironside?
Mm-hmm.
I must say I haven't seen much of his product.
Oh, wow. He's got over, almost 200 movie credits, that guy.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, for some reason I haven't seen those movies.
Have you ever seen the Scanner sequels?
No.
They're terrible.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. I read that you actually got to keep your exploded head.
Right. I did. I did Dick Smith a good turn after we had started off on a bad foot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sounds like James Brown. Get out your good foot. I'm on the good foot, baby. So, yeah, even though I'm on the screen a lot of people think I'm black. I'm not. But I am very sensitive to their situation.
Mm-hmm.
Situation of the black man in America is horrifying. Horrifying.
Mm-hmm. You worked with Cronenberg again on Dead Ringers.
Yes. Yes, he wanted to pay me back for not using the side of me that was in Rubber Gun. I thought I was going to be able to freewheel that role. But I got there and, oops, Steven, sorry, we're behind schedule. We just have to shoot it to the script. And guess what? We've torn the script 3 pages off of a 4-page script, so you've only got 1 page. Do it. And I did it within the confines of all of that. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jeremy Irons, for getting me smoking again in the makeup chamber in the Winnebago. And that was that. Yeah, I loved the treatment because it was a nice bigger budget film.
Mm-hmm.
So I got flown in instead of having to hitchhike and all of that. But I guess I still have my underground status because most of my work since then has been with people like John Jost,
Mm-hmm.
who's a filmmaker you probably don't know.
Doesn't sound familiar, no.
No. Well, he's done a number of movies that are very fragile. I am guessing that your podcast and interest center on horror and sci-fi?
Yeah, and cult films.
And what, cult films?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yes. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, they can be good, and they're comfortable in the porosity of their flaws.
Yeah, Dead Ringers ended up being, Cronenberg's last horror film before he started venturing off in other avenues.
Well, I thought M. Butterfly was pretty Victorian horror.
Yeah, a little.
Yes, it's got that creeping horror of guilt and everything. It's wonderful that way.
And it's a stage play, too.
Uh-huh.
And he did Naked Lunch before that, which was a book, and that movie, I think hurt him a little bit because everyone was saying that it was unfilmable. But I think it was a good movie.
Yeah, I do too. I like Naked Lunch, and I'd love to watch it again. I've watched it about 3 times, and yeah, Naked Lunch was great.
Mm-hmm.
But people aren't necessarily ready for somebody's personal visions of disembowelment, etc.
Good way to put it. What was it like working with Larry Cohen on Perfect Strangers?
Awful.
Awful.
Awful, yeah. He was a very intelligent guy.
Mm-hmm.
I like to have a dialogue with people, and the two of us, it was like a meeting of the monologues. So I found he was just going a little quickly. Very bright,
Mm-hmm.
had his ideas, had his timeline, was completely insensitive to other aspects that might have, and considerations that might have improved the product. Almost like he was hoping for a flawed product that would confirm his underground status.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. I don't know why. That's all. I mean, running lines with one of the actors, I realized that the room we were in had no oxygen
Mm-hmm.
that we were shooting in. So we would run the lines, and then we would go on to the set, and the set had no oxygen, especially with the lights on, and we couldn't remember our lines. And it took three takes for me, in my quiet wisdom, to say, we've got to open a window. You will have to compensate the sound for that. I cannot think. I don't have air. I'm asthmatic. I'm dying. And they opened the window, and bingo, the lines came out.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I got the head from Dick Smith. I helped him. He couldn't figure out how to fix a leak in one of the prosthetics that was reducing the pressure when from off camera you squeeze the air to make the veins bulge. And he was losing pressure on the bladders that were, formed to my skin.
Mm-hmm.
And he was panicking because he's also hypoglycemic.
Oh.
He was starting to really lose blood. And I said, Dick, when you have a flat tire, You put the tire in water and pump it and follow the bubbles. Oh my God, he said, that's brilliant. That's how we'll do it. Let's do it. And he got a pan and he traced the leak and he repaired it. And we went back to shooting. And the 40 people that were waiting for the effect to be filmed were back working and not wasting, over $30,000 an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why he gave me the head. But the first day we met, which was before that scene was shot, was for him to photograph my eyes. And no one told me what it was going to be. And they told me I had an appointment to meet this guy, which they didn't tell me who he was or what it was for. And they came ripping into my loft after I had had a night of reverie at like 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning and got me dressed and took me down to a loft rooftop in Old Montreal where Dick Smith was waiting patiently and like a surgeon and very conservative, straight-laced technician. And he says, and meanwhile, I'm running a monologue. Oh, my God, you guys woke me up. My God, someone's going to have to give me a bear hug. I got to write my name in stools before I can, actually perform for anybody. What is it you want me to do? Get the toothpaste out of my ass. And he's listening to this riff, and he's going, what have they brought me? Why am I here? Why am I rescuing this film project? And who is this animal? Nobody, I have never heard anyone talk like this, which, as you may or may not know, I'm capable of. So he hated me. He thought I was a complete monster, and he wanted me to look up in the sun at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning on a rooftop to get the color of my eyes correct so he could make the prosthetics when my eyes burst out, which I knew nothing about because all I knew is that they were editing the movie and it was a bit of a problem and they were going to have to reshoot the last scene. Right?
Yeah.
So Dick was brought in as the expert. So I know nothing. I don't mind. I know my place. It's on the porch. I'm not allowed in the house. And that was that. So he was really suspect about having to work with me on the final thing, but I was well rested, and we did the thing, and I was conscious, and turned out I was able to help him, and he was very grateful for that, and gave me the head.
Oh, that's great, though.
I handed it over to a fan.
Oh, really?
Well, it's hard to maintain. It was the only Dick Smith prosthetic in private hands, and it was a big obligation. I took it to a couple of monster fests, one in California, Chiller or something.
Chiller, yeah.
And Monster Palooza. I went one of each, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I go there every year.
To contact me all the time and say, come and do it, and I had never been to one and didn't know what it was, and I'm like a turtle. I don't leave the shell. After I get off the phone with you, I got to go to work and prepare for some upcoming shows and some other projects that I'm working on. And, I have product. I could be plugging product. There aren't that many outlets because I'm negligent on more than one level. But I have a book of pen and ink drawings called There Is a War. And the only outlet in the United States that has it is a little bookstore in upstate New York called Batten Kill Books, Battenkill Books. And if you email them and look for signed copies, you'll get it super cheap.
Do you have a gallery in New York?
I don't. I have a studio in New York, and I'm in constant negotiation with this gallery and that gallery. I have one in Montreal now called Gallery La Roche-Joncat, and we're planning a show in the spring. And I'm in negotiation with a non-for-profit space, actually two non-for-profit spaces in Manhattan. One of them is Howl Happening, and but they're booked up. I mean, everybody is incredibly, fabulously busy, although the rewards are diminishing because the economy is on a precipitous verge, don't you think?
Oh, yes.
So,
absolutely.
And much more than the economy, the entire civilization. So we're living in a science fiction reality.
We sure are. It's unfortunate.
And I think everybody is sensitive to it. You know, when I was growing up, the science fiction section of your local neighborhood store was one little carousel of maybe 3 carousels of books, and only one column would be sci-fi. You know, little Isaac Asimov and this and that.
Yeah.
Now, it's, you know, a couple of corridors in your average bookstore. So, and on television, etc. So sci-fi has become a terrific reality, and it's a beautiful manifestation of our species, because that's what we do. We triangulate. And so given a bit of history and a bit of the present, we can triangulate and see what the future might be. And, or even what the present might be, what they're hiding from us. I mean, most of your Jack Ryan things are science fiction in a way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all your political, oh, he stole this, and it's all in the briefcase, and you get the chip, and you'll find out who killed who. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
It's all just to enhance the fact that we were ever here. You know, my son makes music.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got, I only know the titles of his first 2 albums because his 3rd album is so personal, he's inhibiting its release. That's what I hear.
Mm-hmm.
So the first 2 albums are also quite personal because they reflect some of his reactions to 9/11. He was on his way to work for the dean at NYU in his first year as a student when he saw the jets fly over Washington Square on their way to the World Trade Center.
Mm-hmm.
He saw the faces of the people in the plane. And for years, he couldn't talk about it.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And so his songs have a lot to do with displacement, with change, with everything that we ever have known being taken away, and trying to embrace what we do know and love. And his songs, let me put a plug in for his music.
Okay.
So the name of his band is Ravens and Chimes.
Ravens and
They have
Chimes.
disbanded, but I don't believe it. I think they'll be back together when certain dust settles down. I mean, it's not easy being in the music industry.
Nope.
As anyone who has any experience with it will tell you, right?
Right.
There is no industry. You know, there's a few people at the top, and that's it. There is no, you know,
right.
Even local bar scenes are dropping, shuttering, etc. But his music is brilliant. So the name of the group is Ravens and Chimes, and the first 2 albums are Reichenbach Falls, a lake where Sherlock Holmes took a dive,
Mm-hmm.
and Holiday Life. And one of the great songs on it is This Is Where We Are. And it's quite a manic little foray into things.
Mm-hmm.
The only place that ever put his music to a visual had over 1 million hits. That was a German skateboarding company called Eisen 7.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. That's, you know, some reality. Because I'm sure everybody wants to know, what product? Where can I get a Stephen Lack something? I know all you kids out there want to know. So, and of course I'm on Facebook. So You can always see what I post every couple of days. I'll put something up of the work that I'm doing. And I have a website, Stephen Lack Art. And you can check that out to see what the work looks like. And if you want to talk about the work, because you mentioned that you had visited the website, go ahead, shoot.
Oh, yeah. I've seen a lot of your stuff on the website. I like it. You know what I like most? Refugee children.
Oh, on the airport. On the tarmac.
It looks like a train. Like a locomotive.
What's that?
It looks like a locomotive.
Oh, well, I do a lot of refugee children because, I understand one of the great horrors of all time was the Second World War and the concentration camps.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that, forget Motel. Isn't that one of the great horror films? The Motel series?
Yeah.
But the concentration camps were on such a scale. It was such a horror to co-opt an entire nation to join in the horror. You know?
Yeah. Did you have family members?
Gas chambers were developed because they couldn't kill the people fast enough, and the people that were doing the killing needed to do it remotely. They couldn't face their victims because they were going insane.
Mm-hmm.
It was demoralizing the cause. So,
Yeah.
I know that horror fans think they like that stuff and the gore and all of that, but the fact of the matter is many of the perpetrators of the gore can't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
When the real gore happens, and other people who have been subjected to gore repeat it just so that they can exercise it.
The paintings of things on fire reminds me of all the fires we have here in California.
Yes. Fires and floods are two of my common themes. A lot of my flood paintings are in private hands, and the images that I have of them are analog, and I haven't digitalized them, so I never put them up online. But again, my Facebook page has so much of that. If you scroll through the past of it, its history.
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful, I have to say, Stephen, and this has been an amazing conversation. I thank you for coming on today.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's always good to talk to people. We all live in our pigeonholes.
Yes.
So they're listening through their app. God, I must listen to a podcast. My son has a podcast called Robot House, Haus, and I must say I've been on it, but they haven't put it up yet. And I've again never listened to a podcast, so I don't know. I know you're supposed to have a podcast app on your phone, but it always asks for information, and I hate to give it.
Well, I don't.
This kind of information, but they don't want a paragraph. They just want the fucking whatever, the URL.
Yeah, no, I don't do the app thing. You just go on YouTube and you can just click download.
Well, there you go. Click download. That's the step. Yeah. I always wonder if my computer can handle the download.
Yeah. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for coming on today, and I'll keep up to date on your art and everything. And you have yourself a great day over there.
Okay, and say hi to all the people. Happy Halloween. It's coming up, but this will probably be edited and released after, right?
Oh, no, I'll do it today.
Oh, good. All right.
All right.
Well, good. Tell them all to say hi on Facebook.
Absolutely. You have yourself a great day.
Bye, Tommy.
Okay, bye, Stephen. Well, there you have it. Stephen Lack. Ain't he a cool dude? Very interesting guy, and great stories, and really great paintings. Go to his website, www.stephenlackart.com, and keep up to date with all his latest work. And it is beautiful. He's a very great artist. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes!